Alright, just a fair warning. In fact, I'll give this warning while I'm totally still. We have basically an issue I came across in my house tonight that seems to be electrical based. So, this is not going to be a tripod video, so if you get motion sickness or anything like that from the camera moving around too much, then here's your warning now. You may decide to skip this video and I'll see you on my next release. Tonight, in letting the dog outside, I realized my outdoor light is not working. Huh. This is a big LED motion detector based outdoor light, but I also know that it also has a GFI protection on it, which these two GFI outlets here, but I do have another, there's actually a third GFI outlet in the house. It is in the downstairs bathroom. Now the downstairs bathroom GFI outlet handles more than it should by design. Oh, look at that red light. So there it is. Instant reset. We're tripping. GFI. Alright. Now this GFI outlet actually ties to a few different parts of my house. It ties to an outlet in my garage. I really have to kind of rewire this and put it on the garage on its own GFI, because now we're troubleshooting 3 rooms here to figure out. Yep, we have a dead power strip, so we've got confirmed trip here off of that GFI, and the worst part of all, I cannot go anywhere. My garage door opener is dead, because that is for some reason tied in. This whole entire garage is tied into a GFI outlet in my guest bathroom downstairs. So, the main electric for the lighting, of course, is fine. But this particular outlet set up here, and this is cold, sorry, I know the answer, is actually this outlet ties. You notice this isn't a GFI of its own, which you would expect to see in a bathroom to have its own GFI. What they did is they actually put a single GFI on one bathroom on one circuit. It's all within the same 20 amp breaker that actually ties the upstairs outlet next to the sink in the bathroom to the master bathroom, which I would expect to be on a GFI. It also ties my garage, and it ties that downstairs bathroom together. So now we have a couple of different variable possibilities to figure out what is going on here. Now the only thing really plugged in here is we have an air freshener, a 2.4 amp USB charger for an Apple iPad, or to charge my phone faster, a 1 amp charger, and a charger for my Remington beard trimmer. So which one is at fault? If I had to guess, I've always had concerns about these, and I've taken them apart and looked at them and confirmed there's not much to them. It's just an AC resistor acting as a heating element to actually heat up the fluid to evaporate into fumes as an air freshener. But I'm kind of gonna put my odds on this as being the fault of the trip. Let's go ahead and try to reset the downstairs breakers. Oh, nope, that is not it. Alright, so let's start unplugging things in the garage. Let's clear that circuit and that breaker in the garage, because the other possibility is I got water in my outdoor light. Well, there's an easy way to actually bypass that too. Shut the outdoor light off. And let's see if I got some water in that outdoor LED floodlight in my backyard that may be causing the trip. Nope, not it. So now we're down to something in my garage, or we could just have a faulty GFI breaker. Now this does happen occasionally, not often. I'd be surprised if it was a faulty GFI breaker. Now I could start unplugging things one at a time, but instead of unplugging one thing at a time here, we could just simply clear the circuit. There we go. Now we've basically removed everything in all the circuits tied to that GFI that would or could cause a short, including, you know, just by turning off the switch to the outdoor light actually disconnects the outdoor light if there was water damage that, or water that got into that circuitry somehow. Although I sealed that with a 10-year very good outdoor weatherproof silicone when I installed that outdoor light, so that shouldn't be it either. Choose the Bryman this factor because it's small and easy to carry around with me. And it also has that ability to detect live circuits, and I don't know where my other circuit tester is to see if the voltage is live, but I know this one has that feature built into it. Nice little feature actually. Okay, say hi to the doggy. Come on, what you doing? What you doing, huh? Yeah? You are such fluff. You are all hair, I swear. Alright, so I've come to the conclusion now that I've actually tested everything in the house, and I've turned everything off. And basically everything in the garage that was connected to in line on that GFI circuit in the downstairs bathroom has been unplugged. Everything else that is connected into that downstairs bathroom GFI outlet, I'm trying to remember what is there. There's the garage, there's the things in the upstairs bathroom, that's been unplugged. There's nothing plugged into the downstairs bathroom. We only have two other possibilities here, and these are things that I cannot unplug. They're hard circuit, they're hardwired. So I'm down to, because of all the rain and moisture recently and the change in weather, two possibilities. And possibility one is this outdoor LED floodlight. And yeah, you can see it's taking on some water, but it's supposed to be designed to, you know, take on that amount of water and what have you. And I don't see any water inside the actual caps itself. It's going to be a hard one to troubleshoot though, because I'm going to have to basically pull it off the wall and unmount it. And you can see I got proper silicone insulation around the outside and everything. So, and then I realized there's one other thing that I completely overlooked. I have an outside outlet that I never use. Very good possibility. Also, this is tied into that same GFI outlet. So there's a good chance that that particular outlet here has taken on some water as well. And this may actually be the cause of the fault, because flipping a switch and cutting the power to this outdoor light should rule that out as the same as unplugging it from the wall. So the only thing I haven't been able to really unplug, so to speak, or flip a switch and turn off is this guy. So I'm down to one option. I think I'm going to put my bets on probably this guy, but this is still a good possibility, even though the switch is actually being flipped. So now we have to figure out what breaker turns off that circuit, and well, that's kind of a pain in the ass, because the people that wired this house didn't make it easy and simple to tell you which breaker is what. I have my breakers here, and you know, a bunch of 20 amps, some 15 amps, a couple 30s tied together, a couple 25s, a couple 40s tied together, 2 and 3. What are 2 and 3 tied together? 2 and 3. So that's my range. That's 220, 40 amp. Sump pump, I already ruled that's on its own circuit. Kitchen, well, that's very, yeah, just dining, kitchen, lights, disposal, Washer, okay, washer's it's on its own. Furnace is running right now, it's on its own. We can roll these out. We can roll the sump pump out. We can roll the washer, dryer, all the 220 lines out. We can roll the range. I checked the dishwasher. We can roll that out. Furnace we can roll out. So I'm basically left with kitchen, lights, and lights. Lights that are spelled L-I-T-E-S. And dining. So I'm down to only a few left here, 5, 6 things, but really, you couldn't be more specific. So let's start with 9 and 10, although I highly doubt 9 and 10 are going to be my issue. That's my kitchen. But we'll flip off 9 and 10 and find out. 9 and 10's gone. And we go for a walk. Okay, coffee pot's off, so GFI is off in the kitchen. Microwave's been cut in the kitchen. I'm doing this the cheap test way at this point, instead of putting probes in. Oh, and I also discovered, according to 2014 code US standard, anything within a water receptacle or water outlet or range of water in the kitchen should be on GFI. So I assumed that this one was supplying the GF brake to this, and that this GF brake was supplying the GF brake to that. That assumption is wrong. I found out this does not meet 2014 code, but again, the house was built in 1985, and there's houses that are built older that are worse than this, so can't complain too much there. Now, since that took out those 2 protection outlets, let's see, back to the bathroom. I still have a red light, and I'm still tripping, so that's not it. Alright, so let's turn on my 2 kitchens again. Now we're down to lights, and lights. And we'll go with lights, and lights. And now we're just at a guessing game here. It's like, is it number 12? Is it number 16, 17, or 18? Well, let's start with number 12 and work our way. I'll come back once I figure it out. Well, hello. Look what I found. So we've pulled off the insulation, the weatherproofing, what have you, for the outdoor outlet, which I'm sure doesn't meet code even these days. This little shielding, what have you. You know, when I replaced every outlet in the house, the one outlet I didn't think of replacing was my outdoor outlet. Just kind of slipped my mind because I never use it. But look at what we have here. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? An outlet that has completely come apart. Wow. It is just kind of came apart on its own. So my suspicion of water getting into the outlet and everything, completely wrong. A completely busted open outlet. Look at that. Yeah, so time to replace this. And the problem is my new outlets, I've chosen to go with the flat outlets, won't work with this kind of shielding, so now I need a new shielding. Or I can just tuck this whole damn thing into the wall and call it the day and sheetrock it, I guess. But, So, good news is, my outdoor LED light installation was done properly. Bad news is, I got a hole in my wall I gotta figure out what to do with once I pull this thing out. Oh boy, look at this. Do we have some daisy chaining going on here, considering this runs to my garage, this runs to both of my bathrooms on this circuit, and this is all exposed sitting outside. Why did they wire it this way? But I mean, look at the amount of chain that we have going on here. It's just, we got 3 neutrals, we got 3 lives, a single ground, and an outlet that is just tore. Let's see, what do we got here? I mean, how hard is it to seal the hole up in this wall is the next question. And what would be the best option? Well, that is a really ugly hole in the wall. That is something else. Jumbo vent cutout, electrical cutout, and I'm smaller than electrical cutout. I'm just all over the place kind of cutout. Is there any kind of sealing on the back of this? No, but surprisingly, doesn't look like much water gets inside there, so that's at least good. So it must be a really good seal in the way that this piece snaps onto this whole cutout section. But trying to get to that junction box back there, I'd really like to cap that junction box off and maybe find something like this that has not been cut out and just slap it over there. But still, this leaves half of my wire exposed outside like this, and I'm not happy about that. The GFCI outlet at least did what it was supposed to do, I'll give it that much. So, because this is absolutely horrible. If anybody actually tried to use this outlet, or if anybody had tried to actually plug anything into this outlet, I'd be afraid to see what would have happened to them. They probably would have been electrocuted if it wasn't on a GFCI protected outlet. So it's a good thing it was, and it did its job. For whatever reason, the outlet just decided to come apart tonight, and it just, decided to fall apart. Go figure. Alright, so quick trip to Lowe's. Now, I confirmed that the issue indeed was this outlet causing my GFCI protected outlet in the bathroom to trip. That's on the same circuit by simply just throwing them all together like such. And I was able to open my garage door, everything else, blah blah blah, all good, fine and dandy. So the outlet was so bad, of course. And when I replaced all the outlets and switches in my house, I overlooked this one because I don't use it and it's outside. So we're not going to go extravagant and try to redo everything and get this to be like some fancy outdoor looking outlet or, you know, flat outlet like I have inside the house. We're just going to go with your basic one-for-one replacement and make it real easy. I think this was like $1.49 or something. That's good enough because I got 3 wires, 3 lines that I need to tie together here, and then of course the ground. This, of course, even though I didn't find any moisture inside of here being the actual cause of the location, this is rated for wet location only, I figured it'd be good for another $5 to actually replace this as well. Because it just kind of makes sense. It's 21 years old. Whether or not I actually found any type of moisture inside of it or not, you know, it's horizontal mount, duplex wet location, outlet box cover. The seals on this are probably getting worn out from the same kind of weathering, the hard winters and hot summers and such, that for $21 or, you know, for another $5 and being 21 years old, might as well go ahead and replace that as well. So we picked up another one of these. Plus, this actually has a spot for little padlocks to be put on there. I don't know if it's really going to be needed. It's not like anybody's stealing my electric in the house, but it's there just in case. So let's go ahead, and I've already killed the breaker. And let's go ahead and just double check one more time, make sure that I am not live. So we'll take our neutral wire here, pull that off really quick. So 2 quick things to note: if you do not feel comfortable doing this, then hire an electrician to do this. But as far as I know, in most states, townships, and or counties, it's not required that you be a certified electrician for replacing an outlet or a switch, unless it's any kind of major overhaul on the way the electricity is being ran. Then permits and certified electrician certifications and, you know, township sign off afterwards may be required for inspection after the work is done. But in this case, we're just replacing an existing outlet with another outlet that is not going to fail. Now, I have a little bit of experience, 1 from my father being a certified electrician, and 2, also did a year of electrical apprenticeship when I was younger, but never finished my apprenticeship. The gentleman I was working for a year retired, and I decided it wasn't kind of really the path I wanted to go. All right, and just to be on the safe side, of course, let's go ahead and untwist this one too. I'm going to hold this with the probe just to make sure these don't go flinging into each other. Let's see if I can get all 3 of them making contact here. we seem to be good. We are completely dead. Nothing. All right. So you can start actually doing the work. Electronics, one thing. Electrical, that's another thing. You will note though that I actually did remove the old outlet, not by removing the wires, which I could have done by putting a flathead in here, but I actually left the wires in place because this gives me a reference if I question any type of way of polarity, hooking it up, which one's supposed to be live, which one's supposed to be neutral, then I can refer to the old outlet, and I know the old outlet was properly hooked up, or at one point it was, because I did test it years ago. So I know, even though this outlet clearly says white, or sometimes they're noted white neutral, you know, some kind of print or some kind of indication. Actually, there it is again. It says white on this side. This one has absolutely nothing for indication. So, you know, the people that make this one just assume that you actually know what you're doing, or that you were smart enough to hang on to your old outlet as a reference. So let's make sure the outlets are facing the ground post the same direction. And I'm going to be orientating the outlet this direction. Nope, we're going to go this direction because my ground is over on this side, make things easier. So I'm going to put black up top, white down bottom. But this is why I hang on to the old one. So in case you're not sure, it's always better to cut the wires and leave the wires intact on your old outlet or your old switch. Not to mention the amount of corrosiveness that has taken place on this. It needed new wire stripped anyway and get rid of that corrosiveness. So I was going to cut it and trim it and restrip it anyway. So, but by doing this and cutting the wires and keeping your old outlet as a reference, less chance of a mistake of wiring it backwards. So now we know, in this case, in this orientation, the way that I want to mount this, it will be black will be up top, and the white will be down bottom, and the ground will be the bottom right-hand corner. So let's go ahead and start that. Now you can either, this whole, you know, put the wire in, it snaps into place, and using a screwdriver to pop the wire out. This is actually illegal now. They don't have these. I actually prefer to usually wrap the wire around the actual screw terminal itself. But again, this one, for me to do this many daisy chain 2 other circuits off of the live here, I'm going to have to actually use the screw mount posting that they have here. So double check just to be sure one more time. Black up top. So we'll start with the white down bottom, and I've already loosened the 3 screws. It's very simple actually. We're just going to go ahead and stick your 3 wires in place. Now there also should be a wire gauge, strip gauge right here. I'm perfect. I have exactly as long as it should be, which is just by habit, I think, over the years of doing stuff like this and knowing how long it should be. So we're going to go ahead and tighten up our neutral here. Make sure it's all the way in there. I got one floating loose on me here, so I'm just going to tighten this down a little bit and then stick that one in. There we go. Tighten this one down. There's a clamp on there. You want to make sure the clamp is on the outside, because if you put the wire behind the clamp and then tighten down the screws, the wire will just simply fall back out again. One way to make sure you got that correctly is when you give these a little tug, these wires should not come out. Then you know you actually inserted it with the clamp in the right direction. Now flip our wires around here. Take a look, make sure our clamp and our screws are already undone a little bit. I could tighten this one up a little bit there. If you screw it in, you'll see that little clamp that I'm talking about move in, so you know you're sitting at the right spot. And let's go ahead and get our other 3 wires wired up here. Again, I'm not going to measure the strip gauge because I stripped these all at the same length, so I'm pretty sure these are all exactly where they need to be. Okay, not all of them apparently. Well, the first 4 were perfect. And this one is perfect, so I'll tighten this down a little bit. I did overdo these 2 just a tad bit. There we go. There we go. Ah, there. That's a nice fit. And that's a nice fit. All right. Bring that one wire in. Now this isn't exactly the correct size Phillips, so I'm going to switch over to flat to give it that final torque. To make sure it stays nice and tight. There it is. There it is. And flip this wire over. You know what, that came loose on me, didn't it? Yes, it did. In fact, not only did it come loose, it slipped out a little bit because I didn't torque it down when I was done. So let's get that wire back in there. And give it that final torque. There you go. Yeah, that one slipped out too. It's when you start twisting the wire around like that, you can put a little bit more extra torque on the wire and it will come out if you don't have these tight. I know what you're thinking. Well, you're not going to be twisting the wire around that much. Yes, you will be. When you put this back into the junction box, you will be bending these heavy gauge solid copper wires in such a way that it will be bending, and you don't want them popping out in the process of putting this back into place. So you want to make sure that is torqued nice and tight in there. There we go. Now, I got some corrosion on my ground here. Actually, I got some paint on the ground. Look at that. So we're going to sniff this past the paint. Probably should be clean this up with a little sandpaper, but I'm just going to take my dikes here and rub along it, getting some of this old corrosion off of it and make sure it's nice and shiny. I got it down to a nice shiny bare copper. Looks good. And I need something to be able to wrap this wire around. Grab the screwdriver, make a hook. Slip that under. And let's wire our ground down. I got the wire down slightly. Now what I want to do is I want to bridge this loop here. So this way it doesn't come loose as I tighten and torque the screw down. Awesome. Now we're going to twist the wires in such a way where we can kind of try to get these all back in there. This is always a little challenging. Okay, sometimes more than a little challenging, but don't be afraid to give it that extra push to get in there. And it seems to be... Were the tabs broken off on this? No, they weren't. Was this actually underneath somehow? Huh. This was only a center screw on the outside there. This is why whoever did this originally used these two sheetrock screws, because they're longer, because of how far this thing sticks out, to be able to reach in there. So it looks like I'll have to do the same thing because I don't have enough length. So we're going to have to pull this back out. And there's this little safety here that holds these screws in place. It's a unique little safety. I've never seen one like this. We're going to have to bend these off to get the screw out. Or maybe I can just get lucky and brute force it. Yeah, that works. A lot easier than trying to deal with this little spring that's holding the screw in place. There we go. Make sure my sheetrock screws are going to fit in this little screw holder thingy that they got going on. Which, what do you know? Dual function. It holds those screws too. Good. Don't have to worry about those falling out now. And now we know why they had sheetrock screws in there. Because the junction box sits so far behind, and this little plate cover thing here that they got going on makes sense. It didn't at first. I was wondering why they were using sheetrock screws, but now I know. Let's get one started. Get the other one started over here. Ignore the train going by. Choo-choo. I'm just going to bring this in so it's flush. We don't need to put it too far back or anything like that, just to make it nice and flush. Try to square it off. Nice and tight. But whoever did do this originally left a little bit of plastic on this outside housing, so that way one screw would actually hold that in place a little better. Like so. Try to square that off a bit. The foam is definitely compressible on the outside, but now it's not going to want to stay in place. It's going to be a little tricky with this longer screw. Try to get that foam to stay in place at the same time. Yeah, it's going to be a little tricky, but it can be done. That's all that matters. Might have to push a little bit on that foam to compress that in. And I just lost the screw. There it goes. So I didn't have that compressed in far enough, and or the outlet's sitting too far back now. Yeah, the outlet was sitting too far back. Alright, let's give it a shot one more time. Now the sun comes out, right? Well, I was trying to beat the sun. Doesn't look like I'm going to. There we go. I wish there was a way to lock this into place so these would stay up while you at least get the thread started. Oh, that's something. So let's go ahead and finagle this around now and get the foam to line up so the whole entire cover gets a good seal. There we go. Everything's squared off. Beautiful. And tighten this down. Bend the plastic in a little bit, but it will tighten down. It'll fit. That's what the foam is there for, is to compress. And that's exactly what it's doing, compressing nice and tight, creating that weather seal. And we're done. The whole thing doesn't move. It's all sealed up. Looks good to me. Okay, so my outdoor light is working again, and the power's back on, and I reset and tripped and reset again the GFCI breaker in the bathroom just to double check it, make sure everything's good. And some things are just safer than sticking probes into an outlet to make sure it's wired correctly. These are one of those cheap $5 options that are a lot safer than trying to sit and stick probes into an outlet, especially when you're trying to hold the doors open on this, except in the daylight. It's a little hard to see, But yep, it's wired correctly. So I'm very happy with that. We're good to go. All wired up. Now in the meantime, since I was down in the basement, I cut the power to my air conditioning unit, so we can go ahead and replace the wire on that as well.